today round number 8 recap is over here and oh my god, look at that! Who's the spectator here?
Arey, let's go! Amruta! Hello, hello!
Oh, Harshad bhai is here. We have today in recap. Harshad bhai, idhar aa jao.
Yes.
You know what happened?
Okay.
Sindarov versus Matias versus Sindarov. This was the position. Matias in a long castle and all. He did full
बहुत
tone
अच्छा लग रहा है black का
four.
position यार.
Exactly. And then over here he played knight takes a4, knight takes a4, b takes a4, bishop takes a4 आ गया.
Ooh.
And this was the move.
I think this was
Which
the
was
critical
a-
mistake.
Absolutely
by
critical.
Javokhir.
You know
Because-
what black should have done? Shanti say to white कि dude, I don't want to exchange your queen because the king is weak and look at my rooks. But somehow Javokhir underestimated these moves and then he thought even this is good. So he took here on a4. फिर यहाँ पे इसने ये मारा.
Black takes.
And guys, find a good move which Matias did. The only move to kind of save yourself. The
Bishop
cute
B3.
little bishop b3.
Yeah, Bluebaum
क्या
is
हुआ
very
है?
good in defending Amruta. और ये move की वजह से Sindarov had to agree to a draw after a few moves. Well, he was still slightly better, but Bluebaum defended very well. But guys, let me take you to a crazy game. A game where we actually had a result, and it was between two players who were in the joint second position. And Amruta, can I take you to this game?
Absolutely. Let's go.
I am going to take the black pieces again, Amruta, because you know this game was happening between Fabiano Caruana and Anish Giri with the black pieces, and the last move of Anish was pawn to c5, and already you can kind of see that black is doing really well, but white should have taken this pawn on c6. It looks risky, but there is a defense. You take on c6 with the queen, and here I would like for you guys to pause the video for a few seconds and find the best move. And hopefully, once you are back, you can kind of see this creative idea of bringing a knight to c2, because once black chops the pawn on e4, white has this intermezzo, knight takes b4.
Wow.
You hit my queen, I take your queen, and after this, white has very good drawing chances. I'll show you what happened in the game instead, for you to kind of understand how Anish managed to get a big advantage. Because after c5, he played this move king g3, and this was the decisive mistake. Because after this, Anish played queen a7, which now hits the knight on a1. Fabi went back queen to b1. And now Anish is like, let me gain some spins. Very slowly, you know, Anish is like, I'm going to play tactical, but at the same time, positional chess, pawn to h5, expanding. Fabi played king f3. And Anish is like, you know what, h4. Fabi thought, wait a second, can I not just go king g4, advance with my king and take the pawn on h4? But no, because Anish had all of this figured out. He swings his queen to e7 and he's like, if you take my pawn on h4, like this, I have disco check, and black is completely winning. So Fabi tried to bring in his queen to d3, and this is where, guys, Anish had something unbelievably beautiful prepared. He played this move pawn to f5 check. Fabi is like, okay, thank you, pawn takes f5. And Anish is like, you're attacking my bishop, right? You can have it. And he goes king to h6 because the king on g4 is completely boxed here. If you take my bishop on g6, black plays pawn to e4, hitting the queen and taking away the f3 square. If the queen moves back, queen to g5 is checkmate. And after this king to h6 brilliant move, actually Fabi resigned and Anish Giri moves on to the sole second position, Amruta.
Wow. That was an amazing recap there. Which is the next game, Harshad bhai? You're taking us.
Let's-
इतना ही travel करके आए हैं Grand के open से, but not at all.
I was following this game, this
no,
tournament
here, right?
very closely. We had two results actually. One was between Zhu Jiner's game, but let me take you first to the game of Praggnanandhaa, who was playing against Wei. And actually, I'm going to try to put myself in Wei's position this time. And you know, our cameraman gets the advantage of seeing this beautiful position with white. This was the position, guys. The black bishop on a6 is completely on the corner of the board. Generally, हम बोलते हैं कि knight on the rim is not very good, But bishop here with the pawn in front of it is also not very good. And black wants to play b4. Pragg played this move queen c6. And this allowed, like you're hitting the bishop is trapped, but this allowed rook d8. Hitting the knight on d6. And if knight f7, then there is rook d7. And somehow Wei is kind of defending himself. And that's why in this position, the only winning move that Pragg had was to play this move pawn to b4. Wow, what's the point? You stop this bishop completely because of the pawn being right in front of his opponent's pawn. If you take this pawn, then sneaky, you lose control of the c2 square. The queen drops back to c2 to give a check on the black king. If the king comes back, knight f7 is finito la comedy. If you go pawn to g6, now you come back queen to c6. And you'll be like, अरे ये क्या किया? Black ने तो free का pawn मार लिया. But no, now the point is rook d8. I mean, well, you just cannot do anything. Because, the knight is very well defended here. If rook d8 ever comes, then queen c7 check. And black is just going to be completely losing. So b4 was the winning move that Pragg missed. And after this, he had to settle for a draw. I think Pragg was quite disappointed by this result, but very resilient as always. And Amruta, we have something next.
Yes, actually, so Nakamura versus Esipenko ended in a draw, and this is how the open section ends. Here is the leaderboard. Here is the leaderboard. Do check it out. And we'll now go to the women's section. And Harshit bhai, would you like to start with Zhu Jiner versus Caruana Lagno?
Zhu Jiner was taking on Caruana Lagno here. There were 5 people before the start of this round in the joint lead. But after this round, only 2 of them remain in the joint lead. One of them is Zhu Jiner from China. And this was the critical position of the game. White is attacking the pawn on d5. And black took this pawn on e4. But after this, after bishop takes e4, knight takes e4. This is a very difficult position for black to play with these weak pawns on e5 and c5. Instead, I have a feeling that black should have gone for this very creative idea of pushing pawn to d4. And knight a4, it feels like white has a bind, right? It feels like white is just doing so well here. c4 is controlled, c5 is weak, but we just give it up. We just push pawn to c4. If you take with the b pawn, bishop c6, and suddenly the knight on a4 doesn't have a good square because knight b2, bishop a3 comes in the game. And if you take on c4 with the rook, then black goes bishop a6. Gets rid of this active, if you come back, takes, rook c8, and black is doing really fine here. And this is not so easy to find this move c4. But if Caruana Lagno had found this move, I think she would have been able to save the game, Amruta. This is why Caruana Lagno lost and Zhu Jiner moves on to the lead.
Ooh, but now there's another very exciting matchup. Vaishali versus Divya. 2 Indian girls were playing, and Vaishali was playing with the white pieces, Divya with the black. Kya hua gaya, Harshit bhai?
This was
It was a big news.
This was a very important game, Amruta. In terms of the leaderboard, also in terms of our Indian fans, because all of them wanted to see Divya do well, but at the same time, they also wanted Vaishali to do well. We were hoping that the game ends in a draw so that both of them have their chances. And somehow here, in this position, Divya went for this idea of going pawn to b5, and then she went for bishop to a6. And I kind of feel like this was very weakening. Amruta, it's logical, but somehow in even a few moves back, I think that she should have instead gone for just capturing this knight on e5. You just take this knight on e5 when the queen is on d8, and then when white captures back on e5, you go bishop e7, and black just has such a solid position, Black plays g6 next, black at some point can push a5, and I think Divya had a very, very fine position. Maybe, guys, Divya wanted to play for a win, and she was not sure if this is too solid. She tried to push her pawns on the queen side, tried to be aggressive, but after that, if you haven't seen the full game, you must see how Vaishali sacrificed not 1 rook, but 2 rooks and won the game, and Vaishali is now in the joint lead with Zhu Jiner.
Wow, amazing Vaishali. And the other women games ended in a draw. We had Goryachkina versus Bibi Sara. That was a game which ended in a draw, and Anna Muzichuk versus Tan Zongi also ended in a draw. This is the leaderboard over here for the women's section. And tomorrow, Harshit bhai, आप शुरू से commentary में रहोगे.
Let's
We
go.
have Abhidaya here who will be shooting. So it's gonna be exciting here. This is a beautiful tournament hall. And क्या लग रहा है?
I mean, the first impressions are like it's so beautiful, and at the same time, it's so nerve-wracking because all of the players have just one dream to make it to the World Championship. 5 rounds to go. Let's see who is going to be the 2 players to qualify for the World Championship match. That's it for this recap.
Bye bye.